clap hand wipers. Hey y'all, welcome back to Doug's Cars. I'm driving a Mercedes again. I've driven a lot recently, but hey, they made some amazing cars over the years. And this is one of them. This is a 1968 280 SL. It's a W113 chassis. And they made these up until the early 70s when it was replaced by the R107 that, you know, we all know and love as, you know, J.R. Ewing's car. So 280 SL. It's got a straight six, about 160 horsepower, slightly detuned for the US market because we had emissions controls that they didn't have overseas. And these are commonly known as the Pagoda. The reason being, and I left the roof on even though it's convertible, it has a kind of concave shape to the roof here with these upper side pieces, and that got the designation Pagoda. I'll film from the front here too, so maybe you can get a better view of it this way. You can just kind of see how that's got, yeah, that scallop effect, I guess. So Pagoda top, which is only when the hardtop is on. And of course, this is an actual convertible. There is a top, soft top down here, and this just unclamps and you just take the hardtop off and you can store it somewhere in your garage, and you've got a beautiful convertible. These were just excellent looking cars. And you got the huge star in the front, reminiscent of the earlier SLs like the gull wing. Of course, we have American style headlights on this one because this is a US model car. Side marker lamps required for US DOT compliance, of course. This is an earlier, I think in '69, they went to a yellow turn signal, and it just slowed to the ground. They don't make cars like this anymore because of all our safety regulations, but this is a really neat car, and I've never driven one of these. I've driven the R107, I've driven the later 90s version, but nothing like this. So let's take a look under the hood, the inside, the trunk, and then take it for a drive, because that's what we're here for. There you can see, got the old school way of holding this open, but you've got a big master cylinder here, dual reservoir, so that's safe. You got this beautiful 6-cylinder, straight six, again, about 160 horsepower, distributor, and all those goodies, intake way over there. It's pretty modern, actually. Mechanical fuel injection. This is a fuel injected car. One problem with this is to look at the engine, you got to do this because it is a front hinged engine bay, but I wanted to show just how good looking this is. And really, these are fairly modern. You could pretty much daily drive this and it really wouldn't be a concern. But that's the engine bay. And of course, there's some stuff here in the trunk, but it's not a bad size. I imagine this would have had some kind of covering. It doesn't currently have, but maybe it's in this box. But pretty good sized trunk, very shallow. I mean, but the back of the car, this is only a foot high. That's just the way it was designed. Interesting. It's still got some of the original stickers, and of course, what a neat sound. All right, let's hop inside and take a look. So, see, this isn't quite to the level of luxury we're used to now. It's got crank windows, MB Tech seats with no headrests, and old school lap belts. How cool is that? But we've got some wood trim. Really weird automatic selector here. You've got park way back here at the bottom, reverse neutral 432. Of course, it's Mercedes. There's no first gear unless you floor it, but park is here. I mean, weird. This one does not appear to have air conditioning, although that was a very common option, of course, because it is a US spec car, and that's what you would expect by 1968 on a luxury car in the US. Horn ring here, like Bakelite kind of steering wheel, but just a cool gauge cluster. And of course, there's a light on because the key is in the ignition, but at least it's not going bzzz, you know, aftermarket stereo, but very odd controls for the defrost and everything. Clap hand wipers are always fun. But fairly complete car. You know, with the top off, this would be very nice. You know, the VDO clock over here. All right, I'm gonna get y'all mounted the windshield and let's go for a drive in the 280 SL. Seatbelts are like you have on an airplane. Literally. Open the buckle and make sure the seatbelts are nice and tight. Ooh, whoever drove this before me was a little bit bigger than me, so you've got to actually pull on it to adjust. Again, like in an airplane. All right, let's fire up. that sounds good. Gotta love a straight six. They just sound good. All right, I'm moving the gear shift knob in the wrong direction. And now I'm in I'm in 4, which is drive. Nice since it's a 4-speed. Oh, she's got a little get up and go. Oh, that's a great exhaust note. Wow. Let's try the horn. I love it. It's like beep, 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 beep. Oh, that's awesome. This is neat. It sounds good. I bet this would sound really good with that top off. Oh yeah. Let's see, trying the brakes here for the first turn. Yeah, they're pretty good. I mean, this car's 55 years old, thereabouts. And I know years ago, the Top Gear guys, the real Top Gear guys, said that, you know, they were restoring these in London and selling them, and people were driving these like as daily drivers, and, you know, it doesn't have all the modern safety tech, but there's no reason that you couldn't. It's started right up, you know, it's fuel injected, it's relatively safe as far as, you know, it's got power steering and power brakes and all that good stuff. But yeah, I mean, for the amount of driving I do, I could daily drive this easily. She's got some get up and go. This engine, the 2.8, actually made this car have the performance it needed. It had some 4 cylinders and lowly 6 cylinders and stuff. This engine really gave it the get up and go it needed to make it worthwhile. If this did become more of a Grand Tourer, the R107 is as well. They're not Sportleicht. These are not really sports cars. These are Grand Touring cars, and you know, you can definitely tell this is getting more and more luxurious. Again, most of the US spec cars came with the automatic. I don't even think you could get the manual in the US, and air conditioning, because again, that's, you know, by the late 60s, a luxury car without air conditioning in the US was just weird. By I think it was 1969 where AMC equipped its Ambassador sedan, which was their full-size sedan, but it came standard with air conditioning because most of this country you need it, and that was the first non-luxury car to have it standard. So, you know, you're paying Mercedes money, which was at the time, you could buy a Cadillac for this, which with a, you know, V8, and it had power seats and electric eye for the high beams, and it would put the top up if it was a convertible, if it rained, and all this crazy stuff. They even had heated seats back then, and to spend that kind of money and have crank windows and no air conditioning, you know, you were looked on a little differently if you did that. But these, of course, drive much better than a Cadillac of that era. Of course, they're a lot smaller, but I'm getting, it's a cool day today, I will say. It's about 72 degrees, which is very unusual for August in the South. So I feel great with the windows open. I wanted to leave the top on so I could show the Pagoda part, and also it does make it a little quieter for the microphone so you can actually hear me ramble on. But I do wish I could hear that exhaust note without the top, because that, I hope it's coming across. Usually the exhaust note is picked up pretty well when I film these videos, so it just sounds good. I love a straight 6. Love it. We're going about 3,000 RPM, about 50 miles an hour. The gauges are accurate, which I assume they are. And oh, I love that exhaust note. Yes. Oh, sounds so good. I mean, other than the horn ring and the crazy horn, and the fact that, you know, it looks a little out of date in here, this drives like a modern car, really. You know, the brakes are power assisted. They've got the dual master cylinder for safety. Steering wheel is this big around. It doesn't feel like I stepped out of my mom's 5 Series that I've been driving, and you know, it's a 1-year-old car, so the steering wheel is like this. It feels flimsy. I'm sure it's not. It's probably made out of iron, because this is a 1960s Mercedes where cost was no object. Money be damned, make the best car you can. Yeah, the brakes are good. Yeah, the power steering is, it's not American fingertip light. There's some heft to it, like you'd expect. It shifts pretty well. I mean, it's a little bump to the shifts, but that's okay. This is a sportier car. And I mean, you know, again, it's 50 some years old. When I'm 50 some years old, I hope I can shift. Let's see, it's reading 67,000 miles. It doesn't have another digit. It's only a 5-digit Odo, so it could be 167,000. It doesn't matter in this car because properly maintained, these things will go forever. They really are well-made cars, and just sounds good. I like this. This is a nice car. I could see myself having one of these. So please hit subscribe and watch this video a lot, so I can afford to have one of these. Because where I live, a convertible, it's a year-round car. Well, I'd get one with air conditioning so I could drive it from April till October with the top down. But yeah, I totally get what Clarkson said that time. You could daily drive this. You have your eyes closed, you don't know that this car is 50 some years old. And it doesn't have ABS, doesn't have an airbag. But eyes shut, which again, I'm not gonna do. I'm driving, don't drive with your eyes shut. Yeah, steering feels good. It's not loose. Like if I turn the wheel just a couple inches, the car does this. I mean, and that's the reason why people in the US would buy this over an Eldorado or a Continental or something like that. It's just, actually, you could have fun on a curvy mountain road where you couldn't in one of those land yachts. And I appreciate that. It must have been amazing back then to go from a 1950s barge, as the Brits would call it, although to me that seems like a really negative term because that's a dirty commercial vessel. But a land yacht is probably what we would say, into something like this. And this feels like a modern car. Now, brakes are good. They really are. I mean, I'm not panic stopping or anything because I'm not going to. No need to, and I don't want to. This is somebody else's car. But, oh my gosh, that exhaust is so good. That was about 4,000 revs. Oh, not foot to the floor. I'm not going to do that. This car is way older than I am. I'm not gonna give it coronary angina or anything, but you probably could because it's a Mercedes. I really like this car. I thought I would. I mean, why wouldn't you? It's a classic Mercedes. Oh, wow. Yeah. All right. But weird transmission. Weird. It's backwards, and that's weird. Cut it off. And now I can just sit here with my arm on the windowsill. My finishing thoughts. If you have an opportunity to try one of these out, I highly recommend it. I prefer this, I think, to the R107, although that V8 does have a nice rumble. And they had power windows and air conditioning, which, you know, I mean, come on. You know, we're of an age where we want those things. This is a neat car. Yeah. I could totally see having one of these. So on that note, I hope you enjoyed this little tour around. I mean, you don't see these that often. They did sell, like, almost half of the production was sold in the US. Obviously, you know, California, Florida, Texas, places where you have convertibles. And they were pretty much heading towards making their convertibles for the US market. So I get that. But this drives really well. And it looks amazing. So I'm going to end on that. If you get a chance to drive one of these, please do. When you see one on the road, you'll know what it's like now. And maybe at a car show. I don't know. Talk to the owner. It's great. Thanks y'all so much for watching Doug's Cars. Hit subscribe. The more of y'all that do that, the easier it'll be for me to buy one of these one day. Thanks so much for watching, y'all. Have a great day.